It is far too easy to buy these online, and it's a trade that leaves agony in its wake.
This is the Met's Northwest Area Task Force on the front line of the fight against knife crime and gang violence.
Hello, my name is Christine Talbot. I'm a TV presenter and journalist, and I've been working in the Yorkshire area for over 30 years, 20 of those as presenter of the ITV News programme Calendar. I want to welcome you to this unique film, Drop the Knife, Save a Life, produced by Bh40, which means be happy for nothing. Be happy for nothing. A simple message, but also worth turning your life around to achieve. Now, statistics show that crimes involving zombie knives and machetes rose by 48% during the last 3 years, and those crimes were committed by children and teenagers aged between just 10 and 17. In this film, we've tried to capture the thoughts and opinions regarding the subject of teen knife crime in our West Yorkshire area from all sorts of people, from local to international voices giving their perspective and input, and from all ages and backgrounds. We're trying to answer the following main questions, which we need to address if we are going to understand what's really going on here. We want to find out the unspoken but often very deeply felt views of our young people and young adults. What has caused this ongoing upward and truly concerning spiral of more and more youth and children taking to the knife to deal with a situation, whether it's socially, online, or just from the kitchen at home? What are the main influences and drivers of this? What happens in our primary schools, our high schools, our colleges and universities? Depending on what these are, how can we change these influences to become less effective, even on a very local scale? We believe this can be done. Not overnight, but as we delve deeper in this film, to understand the thoughts and the real opinions in a non-judgmental way, we can gradually get our precious young future generations to drop that knife and save a life. We really hope you enjoy watching this film, regardless of where you're watching it, at school, at college, at university, or another youth agency outlet. And we hope that you will join Bh40 and help. You may be an individual, a young person, an adult, a small business, a large corporate organisation. We all have our part to play to fight teen knife crime and encourage our children and young people to, instead of taking a knife and perhaps taking a life, to drop that knife and save a life. For security reasons, we've protected the identity of some of the young people who featured in our film. But please spread the word about what you see here so that more people and agencies can join the Bh40 movement and help change and potentially save lives. Thank you.
We've just launched our new police and crime plan, which sets out our bold vision for the years ahead. Tackling serious violence is right at its heart, and we're working towards the national targets of halving knife crime in a decade.
The safety of women and girls continues to sit at the forefront of our work, and we're supporting government measures to halve violence. The plan will also focus on at-risk men and boys, preventing them from becoming victims of crime.
Across our partnership, reducing vulnerability is a #1 priority. We're also putting children at the centre of our decision making in everything that we do.
We will ensure that equity, diversity and inclusion remains the golden thread, as well as being trauma informed in the way that we work with our communities. Every one of us has a crucial role to play in achieving these goals and bringing this plan to life.
This is our partnership mission to keep West Yorkshire safe, just and inclusive.
Hi, I'm Gaynor Faye and I'm supporting the Bh40 Be Happy for Nothing campaign. Drop the knife and save a life. There's an epidemic of knife crime out there, and having 2 children myself, it's every parent's nightmare to think of their child out there when there's so many knives around. So please, I urge you to drop the knife and save a life. Thank you.
I am Abigail Marshall Katung. I'm the Lord Mayor of the City of Leeds. I am proud to join the campaign with Bh40 and take a stand against teenage knife crime. Bh40, Be Happy for Nothing, is coming to the UK on the teen knife crime Drop the Knife, Save a Life. This campaign means a lot to me as statistics shows us that teenagers involved in zombie knife crime have gone up by 48% in West Yorkshire, and that is very disturbing. Drop the Knife, Save a Life feature film production will feature youth that have had spent convictions but are now turning their lives around, opening up and disclosing the mental and emotional impact it had on them in an effort to deter similarly vulnerable youths who are now in their previous position of being surrounded by the same catalytic environments and influences. This project is powered by the West Yorkshire Mayor and has been welcomed by West Yorkshire Police, the VRU division, and will operate in Leeds and other areas in West Yorkshire. One of the main purposes of this film is to deal with the root of the problem. There are lots of films and documentaries showing the victim's perspective, which is right for them to share. But this is showing the symptoms, the effect, and not dealing with the cause. In order to mitigate and successfully manage the cause, we need to affect the cause, and that's by changing the narrative. I am looking forward to this film, and I hope you all can join us in this campaign to drop the knife and save a life.
Hey, it's Tyrese Gibson, aka Roman Pierce, and I'm thrilled to be part of something meaningful with Bh40. As their official celebrity youth and children's ambassador, I'm here to help spread an important message. Drop the knife, save a life to every young person out there, whether in a gang, at school, or carrying a knife out of fear. You know, this so-called good thug life is a lie. It leads to loneliness, regret, and pain with no one left to stand by you when it matters most. Don't become your own enemy. There are people who genuinely care about you, and then we don't want to lose anyone else. I'm saying this because I care about you all, and it's heartbreaking to lose people at such a young age like you all. When you see this movie in your school, college, uni, youth club, know that I'm reaching out. Because you matter, we care about you. Check out Bh40 website at the end for more info, or speak to the agency through which you're seeing this to see how you can get help if you need it. Don't make a fuss about it, just reach out. If you're in danger or you're scared right now, there is help available. Reach out to us and we'll help you. We don't want to lose anyone else. Please do me a favor, because I've seen the ghetto. It's not a life, it's just existence. Stop killing each other. You'll need each other tomorrow. You matter. Your life matters. Make your own decisions. Real strength is saving lives, not taking them. Oh, and for those of you who love action, don't miss my new movie, 1992, in theaters now. Take care and please do stay safe. I love you all. Tyrese Gibson.
Hi, I'm Claire Sutherley, a Deputy Lieutenant of West Yorkshire, and I support the Bh40 Be Happy for Nothing campaign. Knife crime costs lives and causes loss and hurt to both families and friends of the victims and perpetrators. We mourn the loss of talent that young lives brings to our communities. This is not like a computer game. People don't jump up again. It's a life lost and a life in ruins. So please, drop the knife and save a life.
Hello, my name's Justin Russell and I'm the joint co-founder of Fusion Unified.
And I'm Jonathan Graham, joint co-founder of Fusion Unified and managing director of Fusion Network Solutions. Together, we are dedicated to raise awareness for Bh40's vital campaign against teen knife crime with the powerful slogan, drop the knife, save a life.
Knife crime among young people is unfortunately a growing crisis, and it is our collective responsibility to take a stand. That's why we are fully committed to supporting Bh40's vital, groundbreaking film production, Drop the Knife, Save a Life, which gives a voice to young individuals who have lived through the harsh realities of knife crime. We believe in the power of community and collaboration to create change. As a headline sponsor, we invite like-minded West Yorkshire businesses, community groups, and local organisations to stand with us. Whether through corporate sponsorship, community partnership, or event collaboration, your support will help drive this movement forward.
Let's work together to protect our youth and shape a safer future.
Drop the knife, save a life.
There's a warning that children in England as young as 11 are carrying knives because they feel unsafe. It's the main finding of one of two reports out today putting youth violence in the spotlight. Research by the Youth Endowment Fund suggests 1 in 5 children aged 13 to 17 have been a victim of violence in the past 12 months. It says 2 out of 3 children are worried about becoming victims of violence. 1 in 20 report carrying a weapon, although this figure rises significantly among vulnerable groups, including people with special educational needs. And it says fewer than 1 in 8 children involved in serious violence receive support to prevent future harm.
The interviews you are about to view feature actors portraying various individuals. These performances represent the perspectives of others, as we pose the same questions to each participant.
When did you ever, if ever, first hear about or witness any knife crime, and how old were you?
I first heard about knife crime on the news I was about 11 or 12-year-old.
I'd only really ever heard about knife crime on the news. The first time this happened so close to home, and when a teacher was stabbed to death during school time at the high school. I was due to start that year when I was only 11 years old.
I witnessed a knife crime at 13 years old. I was quite young then.
I've never witnessed a knife crime, but from a very young age I've always seen reports about it on the news.
The first time I witnessed a knife crime was when my school teacher was stabbed. I think I was 13 or 14-year-old.
I was about 7 or 8 years old and I first heard about it in school when they were teaching about knife crime prevention.
Can't lie, I think I was about 12.
First time hearing about knife crime was probably when I was in late primary school, as I had heard all my head getting held at knife point for a mobile phone.
I first got involved with knife crime at a very young age, 15.
The first time I witnessed a knife crime was when my teacher was stabbed in school. I think I was around 13 to 14 years old.
I first heard about knife crime when I was in year 8 or 9. Our teachers had to deliver a message to the school about an incident that happened at another school where a student had stabbed his teacher because he had confiscated his phone.
There was a guy outside my high school on my open evening for year 7 when I was just 11 years old. Someone mentioned that the guy had a knife. I was concerned for the person who had assumed to be attacked, but not for my own safety. I was with a parent and at the school gates, but I felt sorry for him. Someone called the police for.
Would you ever consider carrying a knife? And if so, why would that be?
I wouldn't carry a knife and wouldn't even consider it either.
No, I would never consider carrying a knife.
No, I would never.
I'd never considered carrying a knife with me.
If I had to, if I had a lot of people threatening me, I probably would feel more comfortable if I had a knife.
No, I've never considered carrying one.
I wouldn't consider carrying a knife now, as I'm all out of that gang life.
No, I will never carry a knife.
I'd never consider carrying a knife.
I wouldn't personally consider carrying a knife, as I believe it will cause more harm than good. It will never secure anybody's protection, and I don't believe in violence.
No.
What do you think the cause for this sudden spike in teen knife crime is in the past few years?
It's more negative and criminal content available to young people, whereas it's hard to find positive content for someone of my age if you look at it or type into it.
I think that drug dealing and gangs and postcode wars has a lot to do with knife crime, as I hear this more and more.
The young people don't have anywhere to go to enthuse or engage in like youth clubs, and also the video games are quite brutal.
The closing of youth centres, I think, was meant that young people have nothing to do at times, and then there's peer pressure, which is the cause.
I think a soft and disciplined society with a weak government is a cause. A teenager can stab and kill, get a 25 years life sentence, and then be out in 10 years time and be free again to kill.
I think it's mostly postcode wars, because there's a lot of people out there that are threatening to other people.
I think the growing acceptability, music, films of people carrying knives makes it easier for people to justify carrying one. They feel they can because others do it. Also mainly because they think it's cool and show off to others.
In my case, I was consistently bullied at school, and teachers and my mum would get together, but it never stopped. Many times I would quietly just hang around the playground, and I'd get thrown around at the railings, and it continued. Nothing got done about it. I cried out, I told seniors, etc., and nothing changed. I was badly hurt as a kid until I got to 13, 14 years old. Then I became the bully. From there, it just spiraled out of control, as I wanted to be one with power and the ability to be in charge, etc., and make others hurt the way I did. I just wanted revenge. I was angry. I naturally surrounded myself with the same sort of mentality, young people, and ultimately it led to picking up a knife, guns, etc. Getting involved in knife crime, I got involved in drugs. One thing led to another, and I ended up in deep, and I got arrested and ended up in prison for most of my youth.
I believe it is peer pressure and could be a lot of anger and stress and being able to flex.
I think it's difficult to pinpoint the exact reason why knife crime has become more prominent. Perhaps the youth believe that if they don't have a knife, then someone else might be having one, which can be used against them in a suspense situation.
It's a trend. There's a gap in understanding between all the generations and the younger ones, and it's getting wider. Some YP just wanted to belong, to feel to a trend, feel part of what's popular, acceptable, what's perceived as the norm, reality. No one wants to feel like they're the one, outdated.
What role or percentage out of 100 would you give to indicate the part social media plays can be held responsible in driving forward gang culture and knife crime, its development, and what brings you to that conclusion? What should be done to reduce these trends?
70% I blame social media. There's plenty of materials about the positive aspects of getting involved in knife crime, like getting to flex with friends, than there is negative.
I don't believe that social media plays much of a part in gang culture and knife crime, but I think the music industry should be more careful and have restrictions on what pop stars are singing about.
10% are very low, I think. There was all the knife crime before social media.
40 to 50%. A lot of shows and things in social media have romanticised knife gang and crime culture, so by limiting these and their exposure to young people, it probably would reduce these trends.
I think about 10% of social media plays a part in it. To reduce the trends, social media sites needs to be more strict about knife crime and gang cultures.
I think about probably 50%. There is a lot of knife crime that is shown on social media.
I think 70% lies with social media. Social media shows acceptance that we allow knives in the community. It gives people a platform to show or showcase what crimes they've committed, and it makes people to do stupid things for likes, views, without even prioritizing and showcasing the punishments to help. Social media should be more used to promote the disadvantages and the punishment in knife crime to deter more people.
The ability to get involved in knife crime was always there. It's a personal choice. What you choose to engage in, I don't think social media is to blame, except to expose knife violence.
I believe that social media secretly should take 40 to 50% of responsibility in driving this knife crime culture, because it enables cyberbullying so much and peer pressure so easily, and flexing, which I don't think would be so easy to influence a young person. With that level of persistence, if it was face to face that often, like for example, you'd get caught at school in person.
65%, I believe. Certain types of music, like UK drill, can heavily influence younger people to carry knives. They can idealize these drill artists who can portray gang culture as an attractive lifestyle, drugs and money, etc. We need to get the youth into hobbies like sports, keeping their mind occupied rather than taking into social media trends.
I'd say 20%. There isn't much you can do to make sure that young people are taught and convinced in their attitudes and beliefs, to not be influenced by what they see and hear on social media. Generally, it's seen as a trend, is knife culture, which is spread throughout social media as a flex. I was told from an earlier age, and so I'm not easily influenced by social media, so it's my personal attitude as to how influenced, but generally social media is responsible for some kind of negative trends it drives and can be used to promote.
What, in your opinion, needs to be done to make children and young adults think twice in terms of law, technology, manpower? What would actually make them stop and think through any potential thoughts and actions involving the use of a knife?
I think there needs to be more awareness and more punishments to it, because a lot of people don't think they're going to get bad punishments, so they think they're going to get caught for knife crime.
Life sentence in prison with no chance of parole.
I think more funding probably needs to be put in place, but also more preventative measures, because knife crime, I think knife crime happens like with young people because of what they're surrounded by, so better influences need to be put around them, really, to prevent the feeling of like feeling like you have to carry a knife around with you to feel safe. For example, like young girls or boys might carry one around maybe for protection, but I think what should be happening is they should be feeling safe where they are, so more funding contributing towards that concept would prevent knife crime or lower the rates at least.
To reduce trends, I think I'll bring harsher sentences overall. We need to bring tighter deadline, as in to when and what cannot be uploaded online can be viewed as a young person. It doesn't sit in your head and then there's less curiosity about it. Bring positive alternatives about spreading peace, etc.
Harsher punishments for carrying knives. Also more police on the streets with the ability to stop and search a person, and this should also be carried out in schools.
Harsher sentences and intensity and punishment, no bail, and allowing to get out of jail, all them out of jail free cards, etc. For a young person partaking in knife crime, automatic prison to make the rest of us all feel safe.
There could be harsher punishment, meter detectors in public areas and schools. In extreme cases, more precautions in retail outlets when checking who is buying knife, as well as online or even on Amazon, online shopping.
For me personally, the government, the police, schools, etc. need to listen more and be more proactive in their deterring the risk to young people and take the necessary tough action to deal with and mitigate the risk as far as possible. in an engaging way that ensures the young person that you're actually solving the problem, not just completing protocol. Although it might be necessary, it doesn't foster trust in the child that you're actually dealing with it. I regret all the things I've done, and I have turned things around, but I bet there's young people out there like me.
What would make someone stop, I think, is if they got to know and got told about the grief, hurt and the consequences. Prison at a young age for a long time and the long-term suffering for themselves, their own family, as well as the victim and their family.
The sentence needs to be much more harsher on carrying a knife. The government also needs to make it harder to buy knives. Maybe link each knife to the owner by ID, etc.
Don't be a pushover as a young person. Make your mind up, because ultimately you'll be the one in prison and dreams crushed. It needs to be talked about when every generation present. A change of attitude is needed. The belief that using a knife to get others to do what you want works through instilling fear in that person. That needs challenging and dealing with badly by all authorities, including educational institutes. It needs calling out, and the message that there are serious consequences for getting involved needs to be promoted more.
What would you say to general society to change and look into to change the growing trend where the age of knife crime use is getting younger? How would you attempt to change this? If you were going to stop young children and adults getting influenced to use knives in schools, colleges and other youth outlets, what needs to happen in schools, outside, in general public, general authorities, etc.?
We need to educate young people from a much younger age, from the current one, about the dangers of knife crime and all the negatives. That would be my first action.
This is a concern for me as a young mum with a baby, knowing what it's like out on the streets in this day and age, as I worry what it will be like for when he starts school. I don't believe there's enough authority in schools, and it's too easy to get hold of a knife.
I would provide more extracurricular activities and more funding for these services.
Having better support systems and activity clubs being brought back to distract that young people can take part in and be easy. Just bring them back.
Perhaps more education on the situation at younger ages in schools. New laws not to only punish the user, but also the parents involved, as they have a duty of care to educate the child in doing the right thing and not promoting bad practices like knife crime. And also more community support for those young offenders who are lost and need guidances, ultimately, and mentally.
I think that mainstream media can publicise it more in greater detail.
Police should be allowed to stop and search without any restriction. Knives shouldn't be as available as it is now. And those selling it without any justification should be also punished.
In my opinion, if I was like 14, 15 again, I would have looked around to find more positive influences and reached out for the help to calm myself down. But that's the first thing I would say, reach out. I definitely would enable access to somewhere safe in the school and not let the child out, whilst making sure the bully or risk source can't access the young person, perhaps by calling the parents in and the parents of the young person causing the risk. I often hear so much about safeguarding, but where was mine in those days? I didn't feel protected, so I took steps to create a sense of protection for myself. It can be very lonely and isolating place, feeling that you don't have anyone. I had my parents, but they couldn't be with me 24/7 in school, so it was up to me to deal with the things. That's the next step. Never isolate yourself. Look and keep looking. Don't hide and choose your own path. Also, don't carry your anger around with you. Deal with it using more positive options, etc. Deal with your anger in a better way, and I would keep the young person calm and assure and reassure them that all the authorities around them will do their best to keep them safe and take them seriously. I would take effective steps to bridge the gap and restore trust with young people and older generations and other authoritarians. you will have less Jacobs. I would also tell my younger self, never do what your friends tell you to do. If you feel that the teacher doesn't really listen to you, go find another teacher who would listen. I also would never have picked up a knife or have taken drugs. So please, everyone, steer clear.
I would bring a lot more awareness to schools and in general to the actual causes that are causing the increase, such as cyberbullying and daring, etc., and so much peer pressure to overcome what you're not and to think differently than how you do think. I would definitely bring awareness to these things that are deliberately hidden and not made visible. The cyberbullying and social media pressure in private chats groups. Adults, teachers and the police need to be aware of it more so that the pressure can be lifted from young people.
I believe this topic needs to be spoken more about at school. Young people are often naive and don't actually know the truth behind the severity of carrying a knife. The punishment for those carrying a knife, or even using it, needs to be reviewed.
We're messaged to sit down and be humble and listen to others with respect, especially to older people and people with authority over you, such as parents, teachers, family, government, have been lost overall. I would try to fix the gap in generational understanding. It causes distrust in any authority. This is a value that needs restoring as societal principle. But for that to happen, I need to be 100% sure that my trust is not misplaced, i.e. the very sources that I'm looking to trust have my best interest at heart as a young person, and not just after brownie points.
Hi Anton. What was your first experience of knife crime and how did it make you feel?
I suppose my first experience of knife crime. I mean, myself, at a young age, I carried knives. Let's just get that out there. I did carry knives. And the intention wasn't necessarily to hurt someone, more to protect me and my associates that I was with. You know, it's not the best of excuses, but we felt sort of endangered in a particular situation where no one else was going to help us but ourselves. And that's more or less the mind frame of individuals who pick up weapons and handle them. It's for more of a protective mentality that's somehow mutated today into what it's becoming.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm speaking out on it, because I have 12-year-olds getting murdered in a schoolyard because of the postcode that they live in. I mean, I suppose I feel ashamed almost because I know that I was very highlighted in my street life. I mean, I'm still visible, but I've seen friends kill each other over women, drugs, money. And I suppose as bad as that was, the final straw now is when you've got children, and I'm a father, and I wouldn't want my son to live in a world where I haven't spoken out.
Yeah.
And I haven't, do you know what I mean? My dad's against this.
So you obviously fully understand that no one has a right to harm any other person or adult, you know, even if you've known them all your life, or in that moment of anger, such as things that may have been previously experienced. What would you say to your younger self or the youths of today that are dealing with these real life situations? With your experience, what would you impart to them?
I tell the youth or myself, I'd be like, look, Anton, have a look around your schoolyard. Have a look at your friends on the end of your street. Have a good look at them. Because 10 to 15 years, one half is going to be in prison and the other half is going to be in the grave. I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I've got friends doing a ridiculous amount of jail. The average now is 27 to 35 years, soon to go up to 40. Simply possessing a knife now is enough to put you away for 2 years. So the tortoise wins the race, not the rabbit. You know, we need to have more of a team or community attitude towards life, because if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'd say to myself.
I think that's a really good response, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question I had for you was, what can we do as society today? What needs to be done to address this issue, which is obviously, it's still in the media today. You previously mentioned about, unfortunately, that child that had gone to school and been stabbed in school, you know.
Yeah.
What can we do as a society, as a charity? What can we do to help this in the future? What are your thoughts on this?
It's a complicated question, Selena. Very complicated question. I mean, let's have a look at the situation. Gang membership and being part of a gang, a group, a community, to belong to something, it's addictive. Like drugs. Probably more addictive than drugs and cigarettes, alcohol and everything put together. To belong to something. And you know, these kids, they quite literally would lay their lives on the line for their mini communities.
Yeah.
And it's without thinking. There's no education behind it, the consequences. So let's take, for instance, cigarettes. I always look at cigarettes. We had a bad situation with cigarettes not so long ago, a couple of decades ago. Epidemic levels, kids in school smoking cigarettes, 13. Right now, the cigarette smoking has dropped the hazardous levels that it was at.
Yes.
Do you know why that was?
Oh, they used to put the images, the bad images on cigarette packets, right?
On the cigarette packets, you'd have a look, you see a black heart, you see lungs, liver. It's just disgusting.
Is that deterrent?
With yellow spots. It's a deterrent.
Yeah.
It's a shock to the system, traumatizing almost.
Yes.
Every time you put a cigarette in your mouth, you go, yeah. The same kind of campaign needs to be done. I mean, I know we're dealing with children, but they're listening to a lot of hardcore content. And I'm not going to sit here blaming the music, because people are talking about their life experiences. And you know, there's been action films and violence in entertainment format for generations, for years and years, since spaghetti westerns. You know, it's been about. So we can't just blame the music.
Agreed.
But we need to make people aware of the difference between reality and fantasy or entertainment.
So how would you do that though?
I'd shock the kids, I'd show them pictures of knife wounds to the liver, knife wounds to the chest, blood dripping on the floor. Full on sessions. You got them dubbing machines, someone described them to me the other day, where it's like a human torso.
Yeah.
And you can show the injury and how the blood gushes. It's quite very realistic. We should go into schools, run seminars. I mean, come on now. If you know that if you swing a knife at the human body, it's a miracle that you're not going to hit something that's an artery or an organ, very important. The liver's there, the lungs, the heart, kidneys, intestines. These are all death hits. It's a landmine. Just from one stab, you could be 30 years, spending the rest of your life in prison. So, if you bring the attention and awareness to individuals, you'll make them think twice about how they actually do it. Because at the moment, when they've got the knife, I can guarantee you, they're not thinking about, I might hit the artery, I might do this, and they're not thinking like that. They think, I stabbed him, and this and the other, and it's all Grand Theft Auto. But it's not. It's real life. So we need to treat kids without kids' gloves.
Yeah. So as well as showing these horrific images, what else do you think we could do? Such as, obviously, I've witnessed things when I was a student nurse, like in resus areas when patients would get wheeled in, blood everywhere. Do you think that would help people seeing the stress that it causes the NHS?
Take the cameras into the trauma ward.
Yeah.
Let's take the rug. Let's cut through all the nonsense. Yeah, the kids are listening to graphic music, watching graphic images. They're not kids as we would have had it 20 years ago.
No, they're not.
Do you know what I mean? So showing them these kind of images, it's not abuse or a big injection of reality. I'm telling you, and you will have the effects that we want. Because we've got to campaign just as hard in the opposite direction as what the direction we're currently watching go.
Yeah.
And then we'll see change, in my opinion.
I really want to thank you for your responses and your time today.
Anytime.
That was Anton's response to the questions.
Thank you so much for watching this film made by Bh40. We hope it helped you understand the depth of the crisis that we face, and that you will help us to change and tackle the problem from its roots before it gets much worse. We don't want any more young people to lose a life through knife crime, and we all have the same aim. Let's try and understand why this is happening, and let's try and change the narrative. Let's make sure that in the next 3 years, those shocking crime statistics fall. No more needless deaths among our young. We all have to play our part to make life safer for our future generations. Let's drop the knife and save a life. Thank you so much for watching.